Thank you for joining us for Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. My name is Andrew Farrell. I am a financial well-being educator here at Patelco Credit Union, and I am here with Michele Enriquez, our membership development manager. Michele, you are usually the one introducing me, but today we've done a little switcheroo. How does it feel being in the hot seat today?
I like this switcheroo. And truly, I'm just happy to be here with you, Andrew, for our last episode of the season.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years. Can you believe it?
3 years is a long time. Time flies when you're having fun, as
really
they say.
does.
So yeah, this is our last podcast of 2025, and 2025, I think, has been a year that's been a challenging one financially for a lot of people. So we wanted to use this as an opportunity to just kind of take a breath, commiserate a little bit, try to let go of any money shame or guilt or frustrations we might be feeling, and just share some tips and tricks on starting the new year off on the right foot. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right,
Let's do it.
Let's dive in. So I was looking at the statistics for this year, I should say, and I learned something that was kind of interesting. So according to the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, in 2025, on paper, wages grew faster than inflation did overall. So the average weekly wage rose about 4.2%, while overall inflation rose about 2.7%, which means people technically in 2025, again, on paper, gained purchasing power. But I don't think a lot of people felt like they gained purchasing power. I certainly didn't feel that way. I know a lot of people are feeling more strapped than they were before. So I researched how the CPI works, how it calculates those numbers. And I found out that when CPI is calculating inflation, they are taking in all different types of categories. So they are weighing things like household goods, groceries, things like that, but also durable goods, electronics, cars. And when you look at like an iPhone, for example, a base model iPhone has been $799 for the past many models. So like when that's not really inflating, it's bringing down the average of what inflation actually looks like. So costs for things such as everyday items, things that we are buying on a daily basis, like groceries, those went up, but inflation still on paper went down. So if anyone's reading that like, wages outgrew inflation, but you're not feeling it, that is what that means. Rent also increased roughly 5% with a 7.5% annual increase in lower cost zip codes. So it hit low and middle income tenants particularly hard. Instacart showed that the average grocery cost per month in the US is roughly $363 for adults between 19 and 50 years old, which means a family of four household is easily hitting $1,300 to $1,400 a month. And overall studies show that grocery costs have increased nearly 30% overall in the last 5 years. So, Michele, you are someone who actually is in like a traditional family of four household. How have you been budgeting around these rising costs? And did you have a moment this year when you were shopping where you really realized like, wow, these costs are astronomical?
Yeah. So before I start to tackle grocery prices, and yes, I feel like there was a moment this year that was like a big aha, but I feel like those aha moments happen on the weekly now.
Yeah.
2025 just overall was a doozy in our household because it started off with a layoff notice, which was really hard for us. It was something we had not experienced before. And in just preparing to try and get through the year on a strict budget and preparing to do cutbacks, we had a lot of other emotions other than shock.
Yeah,
there was pride involved. There was, panic involved. Luckily the stint wasn't prolonged, like for a long period of time, but it was a really scary time knowing that inflation wasn't going to improve. And we were going to have to make significant lifestyle changes, which again was going to be new for us. Like I said, there were a lot of emotions involved. When you lose your job and the idea of loss of a source of income, your source of livelihood, and there's also that panic that sets in, especially if you're a provider like us and have kids. So our family of four that you mentioned, our immediate thoughts surrounded potentially cutting back on the fun stuff in our life, like travel. And I know you can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, sports are everything to my kids and the most costly of all of our expenses. But then there's also worry about longer term goals, like the ability to contribute to retirement and what that's going to do to our retirement goals. Things like college savings what impacts that might have on our ability to save for college. So all of these worries just like completely consuming us. And I know there were a lot of people out there that faced some kind of layoff situation this year. So that on top of everything else that we're going through in 2025. So I'll say as a provider, especially also, you don't want to deprive your dependents of all of these things. So it can all just be really heavy.
Yeah.
So with this change, I was ultra aware of costs more than ever, but costs of things on necessities like food and energy and insurance costs, things like that. And you know me, I'm a super budgeter.
Yeah.
And I got that good old Microsoft Excel sheet that I budget with. And actually, year over year, I just create a new tab within that budget. So I know exactly how much costs were year over year grocery related. And I can say with confidence, last year in 2024, I was spending about $150 to $200 weekly on food for my family of 4. And easily this year, that's about $100 more. It's about $200 to $300 weekly. So that figure that you shared, that $1,300, $1,400 a month, absolutely accurate and applies to my situation. Well, I think that costs increased across the board. Where we really saw the increase or felt the increase was with beef prices and like meat across the board, but beef specifically. And we're big red meat eaters in our house.
Same.
So that was a particular pain point.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you get your meat at Costco?
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
I will. Sometimes Costco will have great sales on their meat, and we kind of exclusively get our meats at Costco. But I will get something like beef is a great example where, it'll be on sale. I'll stock up, and then I'll go back, 3 or 4 weeks later when it's no longer on sale, and what was $30 is now $80, and it's like I can't sustain to live off this.
Yep.
Speaking of Costco, I think my big aha moment were the eggs this year. I know we all felt egg mania, egg pandemonium that happened earlier this year. Costco also did not raise their prices for the eggs, so that was the place to go to get egg. What I did not anticipate is how much of a war zone it would be in the dairy section at Costco. I remember the first time I went to go get eggs there, we lined up outside the store 15 minutes before they opened. We were probably like 20 in line because, people form that line that wraps around super early. They let us in and I just beelined it straight to the back. By the time I got there, the line to go in the little dairy room was already wrapping around the meat section.
Wow.
There were 2 employees in the dairy section. There was one who was at the entrance trying to prevent people from cutting in. There was another guy holding a big sign up saying max 2 per person. He was yelling at everyone in the line you back, you out. And it just felt like, I was like, this can't be real life. This feels like a satire. It feels like a post-apocalyptic
or the
story.
Toilet paper situation.
Exactly.
In the pandemic.
Exactly. So moments like that were when I was really like, this year feels a little different than previous years. But I also like what you said about when costs raise a little bit for groceries and things like that, it's not so much that a lot of people can't afford to buy those things for themselves, but it happens at the expense of being able to plan for your future or, get things for your kids or put money away for retirement. Or, as we're going to talk about here in a second, do your holiday budgeting and your holiday shopping. I think this time of year is especially a tough time for a lot of people because not only are we all dealing with these everyday rising costs, but it's also the holiday season. Holidays, in my opinion, are always kind of an interesting time because I feel like in theory, it should be a happy time. We're with our family, we're celebrating each other. A lot of people have some time off work. It's great. But with these rising costs, with inflation hitting us all very hard, and with the expectation, I think a lot of people feel to buy gifts, it rarely feels like an enjoyable time. It usually just kind of feels like an added stressor. A recent Gallup survey shows that the average American plans to spend $1,007 on holiday shopping this year, which is an increase from $948 in 2024 and $911 in 2023. Do you feel this stress around the holidays, especially with, like you mentioned, you had the layoff in your family, you have this family of 4 to, buy your groceries for? How are you feeling the stress for this? And have you approached holiday shopping in your household differently this year as a result?
Yeah. And you and I give a lot of financial education classes in the community to a variety of different groups.
Mm-hmm.
People young, people old, people of all different walks of life. And one thing that we always teach, regardless of who's in the audience, is this concept of needs and wants, right? Because budgeting is at the root of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Assessing needs and wants is at the root of everything. And going back to my earlier point about cutting the wants in our life and then looking for ways to reduce the needs in our life was really kind of the theme for us for 2025. Now, all that said, Christmas to me, when it comes to spending, is a need.
Yeah.
And you know this. I'm surprised you even asked me the question. But I will say, not only do I feel like it's a necessity for me, but as much as I say every year that I'm going to scale back, I never do.
Right.
And at this point, I don't think I'm ever going to change. So while I do budget for the holidays, I do always overspend. But I have zero guilt about it because the holidays to me, is worth breaking the bank. I know that's terrible advice, but that just happens to be my truth.
Yeah.
And we talk about spending personalities and money personalities all the time. That happens to be my truth. I am very aware of it. I'll also say that last year, you and Veronica Dangerfield did open my eyes to a different perspective around gift giving after hearing from you two about the undue pressure that gift giving might place on other people to reciprocate.
Yeah.
And I'm more intentional now to tell people in advance that I don't expect anything reciprocated. My gift giving comes with kind of the Andrew Farrell disclaimer now, but it's something that brings me joy and something I want to do, something I've planned for, and something that I don't expect anything from. So to answer your question, I haven't stressed this year despite everything that's gone on, despite costs of all the things. There are ways, however, to just be smarter about the spending. And that's been another theme for me this year is, if we're going to do this, how can we do this smarter?
I think that's really interesting that you say that, you're not feeling the stress because it's something that brings you joy, because I mean, I don't think it's necessarily wrong that you are allocating more money to, gift giving if it's something that you genuinely want to do. This is something you and I differ on because I'm not a big gift giver, but I would challenge anybody out there to, tell me if there's one area in their life that they don't maybe spend more on than the average bear would. For me, I spend a lot of money on experiences. I'll spend a lot of money on concerts. I'll put a lot of money in my travel budget. Sometimes it's more than I feel like I quote unquote should, but I don't feel any guilt or stress about that because I know it's getting me to a goal that I actually want for myself. If for you that is, putting money away for holiday budgeting, then more power to you. I say it a bunch. There can be room in a budget for anything. There just can't be room for everything. So if you are listening to this and you relate more with Michele and you're saying, I don't feel the stress around holiday shopping, I love it. Great. More power to you, allocate that in your budget. But if it's something that is giving you that little pang in your stomach, there are ways that you can kind of tweak that and maybe make it a little bit easier for you. So let's share a couple practical things that people can do right now as well for this. Michele, what is one small step that you would recommend for someone heading into the holidays who may be feeling a little financially stretched? Maybe they want to get gifts, but they don't know that they have the means to do that to the capacity they'd want to right now.
Yeah. Two things, and this might be a little late for this year, but never too late for 2026.
Yes.
And that's budget.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry.
And
I know that's not a quick, easy tip, but
what it all comes down to.
Intentionality, and it is so important and it is so worth it. So year over year, I have a general idea of what my budget is going to be for the holidays. And I'm talking kids gifts, family gifts, teachers, coaches, coworkers. For me, that's $2,000. So well over the average of $1,000 that you mentioned for this year. And I always go over that. But again, it's fine. I'll find other areas to cut.
Yeah.
But you and I also, when we teach in the classroom, talk about this idea of SMART goals. And so with every goal that you have, and the goal for me for the holidays is $2,000, how can I plan smartly within that? So you got to help me here. Smart, specific, measurable, attainable,
achievable, relevant,
and time.
You got it.
And time bound, time based. So, that requires intentionality. It requires making lists and being very specific about who you're going to buy for, how much you're going to spend on that individual. doing the research of how much the things that you planned for them are going to cost,
Yeah.
etc. But it also includes making space for the miscellaneous. And the miscellaneous is always what happens. And I feel like it's the miscellaneous where people fall into trouble and then have to rely on debt. So I'm talking about pop-up things like the secret white elephant gift for the so-and-so party,
Yeah.
or the toy drive at your employer that you really want to contribute to, or, oh, I forgot, I really want to make a donation and I forgot to put that cost in the budget. And even things like catering and drinks that you may bring to a holiday party. So my girlfriend just asked if I could bring like the famous king egg roll to her holiday party.
Ooh.
And, that's probably going to be over $100, but that's like costs that you need to include. And then if you're not sure about those kind of things, put it in a miscellaneous bucket. So I'm a big proponent of a miscellaneous extra bucket. So, second of all, I'm more intentional to shop sales. And I started early this year. And so once I made my SMART goals, I made my list, I was intentional to start early and then shop the sales. So I did take advantage of Black Friday. I did take advantage of Cyber Monday to try and get those best deals. So budget, plan, intentionality, and then those SMART goals, and then just try and stick to the budget would be my first recommendation. The second thing I'd say, and something that you might still have time to do if too late for this year, and I used to have a little bit of shame about this, but it's the use of coupons.
Coupons are a man's best friend.
I mean, girl, nowadays you can just call me the coupon lady. Like whatever shame existed, like exists no more. But if you think about your overall spending, and if you'd save 10% on all of those purchases, like what that could add up to, and like what kind of impact that would make, if you just ask the question, or if you use your networks and ask your networks, because I'm sure somebody knows of a coupon or something or a deal or a website or a time where you could buy it cheaper. I think most things eventually go on sale, and you can buy them eventually sometimes cheaper. So this can have a huge impact again if you put intention behind it.
I'm not the biggest Safeway shopper, but whenever I do, like before I go, I will always sit in my car and open the Safeway app and just clip every single thing that I can possibly might want to get. Because a lot of those Safeway coupons, you'll save quite a bit of money on it, and it just requires an extra like 10 minutes to go through. If it's linked to your phone number, you just clip deal, and then they all get applied when you go to checkout. And I've saved, $30-$40+ on grocery trips before, just by taking that extra couple minutes to go through and clip deals. I also want to piggyback on what you said with the SMART goals. SMART planning, whenever you're setting any kind of goal for yourself, a savings goal or whatever, making it a SMART goal is like the only way to really, I think, have the success with it. And like you said, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable. I almost messed myself up. Relevant and timely. So this just means like, if it's this year and you're saying, I want to start saving for holiday spending next year, or for whatever it is, you can't just stop there. You can't say like, okay, I'm going to open up a savings account for my holiday fund and call it a day. You have to know like the dollar amount that you want to put in there. You want to know how much you can allocate per paycheck to make that happen. You want to know, by getting that dollar amount, how many people are you going to buy for? How much money are you planning on spending on each person? It just requires a lot of intentionality, a lot of looking back at like your previous spending habits and seeing what is a realistic number to set for yourself, so that your goal is going to read more like a set of instructions instead of just like an arbitrary statement. So instead of I want to save for holiday shopping, like you said, I plan to save $2,000 for holiday gifts for this person by setting $50 aside per paycheck, as well as $20 to a miscellaneous fund. It just requires you to be very specific like that. But if you can do that, the work's already done. You just have to then follow the steps that you laid out for yourself.
I mean, the main goal is to not have to rely on credit. I mean, that's the root of the conversation here, is use the funds that you have, live within your means. So you're not getting into debt. That's the entire goal, to not start January off on the wrong foot rather. But also it's, we can fall into traps, more and more traps nowadays with the buy now, pay laters
Yeah.
of the world.
Mhm.
So, that is also included in this equation that it's not an easy fix. That's also debt.
It's like quicksand out there.
Yeah.
There's ways to fall into it all the time.
Yeah.
I do like what you said though about like starting the new year, trying to start the new year off debt free. Something I think a lot of people do struggle with is the transition from the holiday season into the new year. I think a lot of people start with these New Year's resolutions to do better with their money, but it's really difficult to feel like you're going into the new year with a clean slate when you're sometimes carrying a lot of debt into the new year from the holidays that like just happened a week prior. I think it's super easy to tell yourself, once I get to the holidays, I'll be better with managing my money next year. But I do think that the way that we treat holiday spending can actually set the tone for how we do enter the new year. So let's talk about how to carry these habits forward into 2026 and start the new year off on a positive financial foot. Someone who's listening is feeling stretched right now. What advice, Michele, would you give to them during the holiday season that could help set them up for a stronger January?
Yeah, and I hate to be repetitive,
It's just budgeting.
and I thought, when you handed me these questions, I'm like, what else can I say other than budgeting? But I'm going to repeat it and repeat it till I'm blue in the face, because it is so, so important and the foundation for all things financial health, as we know. But it is worth saying 4 and 5 times. And so I've already spilled the beans. I'm freak budgeter.
Yeah.
So I've already started my 2026 budget. I started about a month ago. For me, just not having that anxiety of the unknown with my finances for the next year, I can avoid by setting a budget and setting a budget early. Going into the 1st of January, knowing exactly what I can expect or try to achieve in the way of savings, knowing what my costs are going to be throughout the year and plotting them and being prepared for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll repeat budget, and I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. This might be a little bit of a curveball question. Is there anything you can do for yourself that can like get you in the right mental space to start creating that budget for you for the new year? Because I know a lot of people struggle with like the motivation aspect behind it.
Yeah, we just recorded an amazing episode with 2 of Patelco's certified financial specialists. And Danielle Robinson, she happens to work at the Brentwood branch.
Yeah.
She addressed this and she said, yes, it's daunting. And yes, budgeting can sound like a bad word. And yes, budgeting also sounds like a lot of work, but let people help you. Have resource out there that can assist you. So if it's not some kind of app within or feature of your mobile banking app that can help you budget, if it's not you taking paper to pencil and doing it yourself, seek out resources and seek out the help of experts. And Patelco's got great experts and support with our certified financial specialists. And what Danielle had shared during the podcast episode is she had created one of these Microsoft Excel sheets.
Yeah. Hey.
And she is willing to share it. She created it for our members, and she's willing to share that. So if you sit down with one of our certified financial specialists, they can help you. They've got a tool for you to use. They can help you input your fixed costs, your costs for the year, whatever. They can help you get started. It really is going to require a start on your part. So if it's not a self-start where you're using something of your own, come to an expert and get help from us.
The first step can literally be just reaching out for help. Like that. You don't have to create the whole thing yourself. Your first step can just be, speaking to a trusted financial advisor or coming by your trusted financial institution and asking for some assistance. So we have a lot of people here who are able to help you out. For me, it's about like gratitude. So it extends beyond just gratitude about like your friends and family. I would even say more like a positive reinforcement, because I think we talk a lot about how we can learn from our mistakes, like we made a budgeting error, so how do we fix that? But I think we can also learn from our financial wins as well. Even if you didn't have the best year financially in 2025, try to think of one thing you did that was good. Maybe you were able to pay down a credit card debt. Maybe you were able to save for, a small trip, something that you did successfully financially, and try to replicate that. Try to keep that positive reinforcement going, see what worked, and try to build off of those habits that worked for you last year.
I want to say too, I know this year was challenging and we're expecting 2026 to continue to be challenging. And I don't want to be tone deaf to those who are on limited incomes also.
Right.
But in this budgeting process, it's really important. And you and I know this because we talk about financial health, but within financial health is understanding the things that you want to achieve. And a lot of times that's fun. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
It might be travel. So penciling in the fun stuff into your budget and working around it probably is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And making space for those things that bring us joy. And I'd be willing to bet that you can fit it in with small tweaks. If you made small changes across the year, then you could probably afford it, but it requires planning. It requires that start that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'll also add that in addition to plotting those fun things that you want to do is making space for savings too.
Yep.
And $20 from a paycheck, $50 from a paycheck, you're probably not going to miss, but put it in the budget and then make it a practice to actually do it. And then I think you'd be surprised at the end of the year what you're able to achieve.
For sure. And it's if it's just a small amount like that, if you're not able to set a huge dollar amount aside, that's quite all right. It's about like creating the habit of doing that so that, if your earnings potential increases down the road, you're already in that habit of saving as opposed to trying to start it, from scratch. So, okay, real quick lightning round questions. When you think about carrying good habits into the new year, what is one financial practice in 2025 that you want to keep building on? And then maybe one that you want to pump the brakes on or just be a little bit more mindful of going into next year?
Yeah. And, we talked a little bit about money personalities. We've done a whole podcast on money personalities, and where I splurge the most is with clothes and shoes. I also know this. I'm very aware of this about myself. So knowing that 2025 was going to be challenging, I knew that was the area where I had to make some changes.
Yeah.
So one thing I practiced this year while things were challenging was minimalism. And I have a friend who I really admire, and he's a world traveler. He is a minimalist. And he had mentioned something one time about having one frying pan. And I was like, oh my God, one frying pan? Like, how can you even operate a kitchen with one frying pan? But, in thinking about my own kitchen, the things that I own, I have millions of kitchen gadgets, right? And I still want more. I want the Le Creuset. Like eventually I want to get them. I don't need any of that. Everything I have is completely fine. And actually, I probably have duplicates, like 5 of each of all the things. So practicing minimalism, but also like this constant need to constantly upgrade everything that you have was something I was really intentional about. Last year on one of our podcasts, also Veronica Dangerfield was talking about this concept of minimalism and reducing waste. And immediately I was thinking, well, that's kind of dramatic, right? But during the year, I thought about it more and more, and my kids happen to love Shein.
Okay.
I also love Shein. It's the cheap Chinese clothing brand.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's really affordable and my kids like the clothes. It's great. But they've now gone from purchasing the clothing to adding like gadgets and toys and things to the cart purely because they're cheap.
They're cheap and they're there.
And why not?
Easy. Yeah.
But, we're having a lot more conversations about waste and needs and wants.
Yeah.
And so I am fully aware of my spending habits, right? So it requires an awareness. Yeah. And then it requires you to be intentional about changing that, knowing what you know, and then making those changes. So I started to shop this year in my closet instead of at the store.
Because you got so much stuff you haven't worn.
You know what I discovered?
What did you, like, that jacket?
Yes, yeah. Things in nooks and crannies that still had the tags on them. And, I was really embarrassed, but I also was like, I have so many things that, can feel new when you dust them off. But also this concept of waste just opened my eyes a lot. And I didn't have to shop for any clothes. I really truly had everything that I needed.
And it's kind of fun. It feels like it's a brand new thing, but it's
a treasure hunt.
Yeah
In the closet.
It's so funny that you mentioned the kitchen thing, because that is exactly what I was going to say as far as like it was an example for something I want to curb next year. I am like I don't have the voice in my head that says no. Like if I want to buy something, it is really up to like, I don't have a conscience or something that is like pump the brakes. It is really up to me to like put those speed bumps in myself. And I think I've gotten pretty good with things like impulse purchases when it comes to targeted ads and stuff like that. But what I realized the other day, I was making mac and cheese and I went to go get our strainer bowl. We have 4 strainer bowls. There's one that I just use because it's the one that's on top. And so I grabbed it and the handle broke. And I was like, oh, our strainer bowl broke. And I got on Amazon and bought a new one right there. Yep. And then I thought, like, I didn't need that. I have 3 more in here that I have not touched. I just wasn't in the practice of using them. So I think it's just, for me, I need to continue to work on just slowing down in like all aspects of spending, because if I don't, I will just go nuts. So,
and it's so easy. 2 clicks of a button is at your door tomorrow.
Yeah. That's what I want to work on.
You give a great tip in our classes about the 30-day cart rule.
Yeah.
And this can apply even for things you think you may need to replace right away. Put it in the cart and revisit it in 30 days. You probably don't need it. You probably have another one.
You'll
or you
forget
could probably
about
strain it against the sink. Like, do you really need a strainer? Do you really need a tool for that?
I did not need a 4th strainer. No, I mean, I need a strainer. I don't know that I need 4 of them. All right. So just a little teaser before we send you all on your way. Our first financial wellness webinar of 2026 is going to be Fresh Start Finances, Budgeting for the New Year. It's going to be about everything that we've discussed today. So how to create a successful budget that aligns with your values, how to include things like debt repayment, beefing up your savings, all that kind of stuff in your budget, and then how to start the new year off on the right foot. It is going to be Wednesday, January 14th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can register at www.patelco.org/webinars. Michele, thank you so much for joining me today in our lovely podcast studio.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always love our end of year holiday episode. And for those of you listening out there, you're not going to want to miss Andrew's beginning of the year webinar, or any of his webinars for that matter.
Come to all of them. All right. That is going to do it for today on Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Patelco Credit Union is insured by NCUA. Hey, you guys, hope you liked that video. Thank you for watching. For more financial wellness information, go ahead and click here to subscribe and here to watch the next video. Thank you.